All right, we're going to see Lex Fridman argue with Bernie Sanders about his radical politics.
Many of your policy proposals are quite radical.
No, they're not. I beg to differ.
Okay, great.
Go through it.
Well, they're popular. So what I mean is relative to the way other politicians speak,
Yes.
it's usually a little bit more moderate. So from everything you've learned from politics, is it better to go sort of radical, maybe we can come up with a different word, versus a more moderate, safe, ambiguous kind of policy?
Okay, let's talk about it. Fair enough. We talked about one issue, very important, money in politics.
Money, yes.
Getting big money out of politics. Do you think that's a radical idea?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a popular idea. It's an idea that makes sense. But in order to implement it and actually make it happen requires, to flip the system upside down, right? In that sense, it's radical.
In that sense, it's radical. But if you go to walk down the street here and you say, do you think billionaires should be able to spend as much money as they want to buy politicians? I would say 9 out of 10 people say, that's crazy. That's not what America's supposed to be about. So in that sense, it's certainly not radical. Let's talk about healthcare. Go out on the street, do it.
Well, I mean, Donald Trump's people would say that it's okay. Elon Musk and Donald Trump, both billionaires, right? Elon Musk giving them all that money. Donald Trump already got the money. So it's easy for them to run, right?
We'll do a poll. I've done the polling. Is healthcare a human right? Should every American be able to go to a doctor when they need, regardless of their income? You know what people say?
No.
I would say about 85, 90% of the people say, of course. The idea that healthcare is a human right available to all exists, Lex, in every major country on earth except the United States. So you're here with me in Burlington, Vermont, right? You got a car, go 50 miles north to Canada. Walk into Canada and ask people, when you go to the hospital, how much does it cost you? Which kind of bill? And they say, what are you talking about? It doesn't cost us anything. It doesn't cost us a nickel. That's the case in virtually every country in Europe. So the idea that health care should be available to all, that there should be no out-of-pocket expense because it's a human right, is widespread around the world and very much agreed to in this country. Bottom line is that because of our corrupt political system, we have a healthcare system designed not to provide health care to all people, to make huge profits for the drug companies and the insurance companies. And that is what's happening. And we got to change that system.
Man, it's on point today. And remember, this is a month ago. This is before the shooting happened. Before Luigi Mangione did the thing.
So I'm a strong advocate, and I've led the effort on Medicare for all.
Okay, so that's Bernie Sanders being radical, right? So let's see how actually radical Bernie Sanders is.
Our sit-downs with the godfathers of Wall Street continue with a man who spent 30 years purchasing and selling distressed companies. Soon after, actor Edelman chronicled his strategy by teaching a course at Columbia entitled Corporate Raiding: The Art of War. Then after leaving Wall Street, he made his mark on high-end investing and established Edelman Arts in New York City. He joins us here at the NASDAQ. Asher, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
You say that we are currently in a recession. Every Fed official who speaks to us tells us we are not in a recession. What are they missing?
I think it's pretty straightforward. The average American has not had an increase in pay in 15 years, but things have cost more in the marketplaces. He has been in a recession for 15 years. Nothing's changed for him.
And this is a few years ago, right? This is probably 2016. So add another 8 years too, so 23 years. The average American person has been in recession for all this time. It's not Joe Biden. It's not Donald Trump. It's capitalism.
Up at the top, we're not in a recession. But 80% of the Americans have been in a recession for at least 15 years.
Yeah, at the top.
So how does that translate into investing, into the stock market? Is it that it's a recession that seems like nobody realizes we are in one, and certainly nobody realized we've been in one for 50.
Kamala Harris didn't realize, but as he said, it's not a recession for us at the top. It never is. There's never a recession for those at the top.
15 years.
Who is your nobody?
I think the broader investing public. If you polled anybody on the street or anybody on this desk
Well,
right here.
it sounds like you're talking more about financial oppression than you are an economic decline. I mean, I get the fact that a lot of people aren't doing as well because structurally society isn't rewarding them maybe where they should. I'm not going to get into that.
That's a social issue. I'm talking about money and economics. People can buy less for what they have now than they could 15 years ago. In their lives, that's a recession.
Dang, hard.
Okay. So how about the broader economy, though? How about the labor market that continues to tighten in the United States and in Japan and in Europe? And everyone's going to tell me that's a backward-leading indicator. But right now, I see a job market that tells me that the service sector is more than making up for manufacturing and commodity.
And you are, of course, aware that we have fewer people as a percentage of the population employed today than we did in 2007.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what's that about a job
labor market worse?
Yes, it is. And then if you take into account the people who are working in McDonald's who used to run a computer for somebody else, it's even worse than that.
So let's say you're back on Wall Street today. How would you express those views in investing or in any other way when it comes to money and investing?
My view was always very straightforward. If you could buy control of a company or close to control of a company where the hard assets are worth 2 times the stock price, you could then work out something to do from there. That's what I'd be doing.
Are there sectors that you look out at right now and think, if I were still in the game, this is an area that I would go after?
Yeah, I look at some distress, mainly in Europe today, but I look at distress, yeah.
In Europe?
Yeah.
Let's move on to the presidential elections. I'm curious, we're asking everybody essentially, who you think the best candidate for the economy would be?
Bernie Sanders.
How long did
Without
that
a
take
doubt.
you to
Why
answer?
is that?
No question.
Policies?
Well, I think it's quite simple again.
No question.
If you look at something called velocity of money, you guys know what that is, I presume. That means how much gets spent and turns around. When you have the top 1% getting money, they spend 5-10% of what they earn. When you have the lower end of the economy getting money, they spend 100 or 110% of what they earn.
And this is very important, guys. The top 1%, 10%, whatever, that only spends 5 or 10% of what they earn, they're keeping money out of the economy. It's not getting the cycle through. If Elon Musk is worth, what do they say, $250 billion, say he was just worth $1 billion, that would be $240 billion that would be cycling through the economy, right? And that if he was paying his employees, say double, whatever, donating to whatever, or just spending it, it would pay people's bills, right? Like, you gotta put money back into the economy for people to use it. It's not a what do you call it, a participation trophy. All these rich people are using their money like a participation trophy, showing how much I got. My bank screen has a bigger number than your bank screen. Who cares? That's not what economies are about. Economies are about running. They're about moving. It's about a machine having cogs and wheels turning, right? If the cogs and wheels can't turn because you're pulling money out, the economy doesn't work. But I don't know if I explained it as good as Asher Edelman will, but let him speak.
As you've had a transfer of wealth to the top and a transfer of income to the top, you have a shrinking consumer base, basically, and you have a shrinking velocity of money. Mm-hmm. Bernie is the only person out there who I think is talking at all about both fiscal stimulation and banking rules that will get the banks to begin to generate lending again as opposed to speculation. So from an economic point of view, it's straightforward.
From an economic point of view, it's straightforward. The further left Bernie Sanders is better, the socialist, whatever. Because what he's going to do is pull money from those who are just going to hold on to it, distribute it to those who will spend it, and let them put it in the economy. So that is like saying poor people or even middle class people, they can now buy a car. They can now spend the money on their medical drugs or whatever. They can buy their kids different shoes, clothes, play different sports. Now they have a choice in the economy, and they get to put their opinion in and say what they want. Like Elon Musk having all this money, and he gets to talk to Donald Trump every day, and he gets to go to Saudi Arabia and talk to these people, and he gets an outsized imprint on life, like as does what's his name, Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates he implemented Common Core in the math, right? And he changed how schools taught kids for like a 10 or 15 year period, and they gave some kind of apology in the paper and stuff that they kind of retracted and unapologized, but then said that, you know, they should have let teachers in on it more, because they didn't take the word of teachers. They wanted to say what they wanted to do and how they wanted to teach kids, but they're not teachers, so they didn't know, and it didn't work out, right? And all these parents know about Common Core and how it was hard to deal with. They're like, well, we did it this way, and now you got to do this little box and sideways and diagonal, and they didn't know how to do it, and it just made it harder for everybody. But anyway, rambling. It's just, as you see, Bernie Sanders, we need the money. It needs to go to the people. Elon Musk, Bill Gates got too much say. We need to tax them, give it to the people, let the people get their say, and then we'll get better outcomes. And until next time.